welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center, and I'm delighted to be joined back with one of our very special friends, Hernandez. Really happy to have you here with his fantastic movie, his fantastic documentary, Unseen. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take another clip.
After you have a disability, you're gonna have some type of impediment. But the intersectionality between being undocumented and having a disability, it plays a lot of stress and anxiety into you.
So thank you so much for off the plane from New York City, from other festivals, because you can't stop moving with your amazing film. But
oh my God.
Thank you so much for bringing Unseen to us. For those that haven't seen it set, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yes, Unseen, again, follows the story of my friend Pedro, who is a social worker. And in the film, he is navigating the uncertainties of life. It's a coming-of-age film, pretty much, and through the perspective of a person who happens to be an undocumented immigrant and also blind.
What a special friend you have, because you know we all just, everyone that watched the film, we just fell in love with Pedro and just appreciated him, and just also just his unbelievable sense of love and soul that just outreached, and I couldn't believe all the incredible things that he was fighting for, not just for himself but for others as well. Obviously being your friend, Seb, but like where did you come about deciding you wanted to make a story about him and Unseen? For
sure. And also, I should say special shout out to NewFilmmakers LA for having been a big supporter of this project since development, for a development grant with New Narratives Grant, and now distribution through the film festival. So just grateful truly to NewFilmmakers LA, Larry LeBeau, of course you, Danny DeLillo, you know, and the whole team for all that you all do.
Thank you so much.
And for the film, when I first met Pedro in 2015, the desire really was not, maybe in the beginning it was a curiosity, you know, in the immigrant rights movement that I've been a part of, having been a community organizer. We rarely, or if ever, in my experience at least, we never talked about the experience of someone who is undocumented and also something else beyond just their immigration status. In Pedro's case, having a disability. So when I first approached Pedro, the desire really was around advocacy, trying to highlight in a more political landscape maybe the importance of uplifting the experience of immigration in all its complexities. But when we started to film more over the course of 7 years, I realized that siloing or isolating Pedro's experience just within the realms of his identities does a disservice to who he is as a full human being. And our editor, also big shout out to him, Daniel Chavez Ontiveros, he saw these different similarities maybe, or parallels in Pedro's journey and in my life journey. And at the end of the day, the film actually becomes more than just about Pedro, but also, spoiler alert, about me, and maybe the whole process of making the film itself.
No, amazing. Well, I mean, goodness me, like I would love for you to also reiterate what the organization that you work with and create, you know, because I think it's amazing what you actually do, but just tell the audience about the organizations that you work with to represent and recognize, you know, undocumented workers as well.
For sure. Actually, you know, I think that's one of that organization, the collective, emerged from structural barriers that we've experienced making the film. So it took 7 years to make Unseen. And in the first 5 years, it was just really me and Pedro working on the project. And a big hurdle that we faced is that as an undocumented immigrant myself, that's my biggest similarity with Pedro. As an undocumented immigrant myself, I couldn't apply for grant opportunities because of requirements around citizenship and residency status. And even though these same grant-making opportunities and institutions provided filmmakers who are not undocumented with grants for immigration-related films, I, as a directly affected person, couldn't, you know? So I realized that I was not the only person who was navigating this challenge. There were other filmmakers who was also going through the same thing.
Yeah.
So inevitably, in the course of making the film, I also ended up co-founding the Undocumented Filmmakers Collective with other filmmakers who were going through the same thing. And it's kind of unfortunate at the same time that to be able to pursue your work, or at least in my case, to be able to make a film, I also had to co-found an organization with other folks to be able to advocate for ourselves, you know, and hopefully in the future, we can work towards better equity in the film industry so that more of us can have a seat at the table or bring our own folding chairs into the table.
Well, I think the wonderful thing about this particular title as well is, you know, through your work, through your passion, through your love, through your ideas and creativity, you make the unseen seen. And, you know, this was 7 years in the making. That's a long journey, isn't it? I think people don't really appreciate quite what that is in documentary filmmaking when you're, you know, 7 years of someone, think of 7 years of your own life and you think what you go through, and this was 7 years of Pedro's life. How was that experience start to finish, and what have you learned? What did you go into thinking about how this project was going to go, and what have you come out maybe learning or experiencing?
Oh my God, what a question, Danny. You know, I think it's interesting though, the process of making a film for me parallels the process of living a life in essence. You know, because I came into this process of making the film with Pedro thinking, okay, it's 2 years, we're gonna be done, you know, we're gonna find this certain level of distribution, you know, for our film, pretty much coming in with a lot of expectations. And then at the same time also, from the get-go, Pedro and I realized, you know what, actually, it's gonna be difficult to move forward. So maybe year 1, year 2, from the beginning, we already realized that maybe this film is never gonna see the light of day, you know? So I think the more I let go of expectations, the more I humbled myself and surrendered myself to the process of making the film, things just kind of fell into place the way they're supposed to. Because I think sometimes as a director, as a producer, we of course do our best to put things into place. But maybe, you know, the universe, spirit, ancestors, whomever, there's a larger force outside of ourselves that will put things where they're supposed to be, and being able to understand and let go of that, you know, has been really helpful. And I think that also, you know, parallels the creation of the film, because there were so many people, when we do Q&As, people ask us, you know, how did you know when the film is done? Why did you shoot it this way? How, why? To be honest, I don't always know. You know, there's just something that pushed me a certain direction, pushed our team a certain direction, creatively, artistically, ethically.
Oh, so just, well, that was a bit, I mean, just push you a certain direction.
Yes.
If that's all right, sorry.
Sure. There was just a force that kind of pushed us a certain direction, creatively, artistically, in all the different ways, you know, that really made us feel that we're making the film we're supposed to be making.
Yeah, and I think that's the key word. I think you can feel it. You can feel that the energy within, and it sort of almost unravels itself, and you kind of know.
Something just kind of clicks in you.
No, well, I mean, this is a tremendous journey you've been on. What's it, you know, I'm always empowered by the films that you make and create, and I always, as you know, we're always so supportive that it doesn't just reach people that need to see it, it reaches people to learn, support, help in any way to kind of make all of these wonderful people who don't have the same access as, you know, people that do have, you know, that are documented, and just the extra level of stress and PTSD that comes with that, and the fact you bridge a light on that, but also just how hard it is for those individuals, on top of everything else that is going on in their lives on top as well. And so we really thank you for creating such an organization as well, for doing that. With Unseen though, what's the audience reaction been for you? What has it been like? I mean, you've been going to so many festivals, you just got back from New York, another festival. Like, how has it been taking Unseen on the road around the country?
Oh my God. You know, one of the screenings that we had during the summer in a festival, Black Star Film Festival, one of the attendees said to me, I came here to watch your film, hoping to learn about somebody else. But now that the film's done, I end up learning more about myself instead. You know, I think that's like one of the
Powerful.
most profound things that I've ever heard someone say about our film. It's interesting that the film, Pedro's experience being both an undocumented immigrant who has a disability, it's a very specific human experience, a very specific perspective that, not a lot of people probably share. But what's been really meaningful and magical is how the act of having a larger framing of Pedro's story beyond his identities, but more into just his full humanity, allows other people who don't share his lived experience to also get something out of the film. So if someone who is not from Pedro's experience gets something out of it, how much more then for people who come from our communities? Because I think part of the desire with the film is that so many films about immigration, so many films about undocumented immigrants, about people with disabilities, are made not for people like us, And for example, people about blind people, films about blind people, have been made. Many of them have been made. But Pedro tells me most of them are not made for blind people, and he knows that because they're not accessible. They don't have audio descriptions. There's no way for a blind individual to understand what's happening on screen. With our film, it's been really important that beyond the immigration piece of the film, we also uplift accessibility, including open captions, audio descriptions. Actually, our opening night in New York a couple days ago, it was one of the most magical things ever because we had a screening where we were attending to different access needs, Spanish-speaking people. So we had Spanish interpretation, we had ASL interpretation, we had audio descriptions, we had filmmakers, we had non-filmmakers, we had everyday people. It was just so beautiful to really experience how a film, one humble film, can bring all these different communities together in one place.
Absolutely. Oh, so wonderful. So having made that, I always know you've got about a gazillion projects in the works. I'm wondering where you're going to be in the next 7 years, but what is next for you? What is next for you, Seth?
I should say, Danny, thank you so much to you again and NewFilmmakers LA, Larry LeBeau, Emma, the whole team, Lauren, Boyana, everyone. Just so grateful for y'all's support because I would say, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's kind of scary and difficult to be an independent filmmaker because you have to figure out where you're going to get the funds, how are you going to sustain your own livelihood, especially in a landmark year like 2023 with strikes, with distribution being so difficult for so many films. It's not lost on me that just to make one film is already a big privilege and a blessing.
Yeah.
And to think about making another project, it's really daunting, to be honest. But while I say this, while I'm scared and I feel so much uncertainty, I also feel so, in purpose. I just feel like I have all these stories in my belly, in my heart, and it's boiling like a pot of hot water.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the pot is covered and all the steam is just there,
Yeah, 100%.
And I need to take off that lid to let the steam out, and I just feel like even though I'm not always financially stable, to be honest, that's not gonna stop me because to your point, I actually do have some projects that I'm already starting to be in development for. Whether they're gonna see the light of day or not, who knows? But you know what? I'm gonna try my best, and at the end of the day, I won't have any regrets because I can say I did my part and leave it up to the universe what will happen next.
Oh, well, listen, leave it up to the universe and hopefully universe will bless you. But I think, there's two things as well. I think, making projects from your heart, I think is one thing, but also something you've done in this project and other projects is just making people feel safe on set. And I think that is what you do, and that is why we need you to continue making more films because, you're a great storyteller. So well done. Last but not least, because you know how hard it is out there, if someone is at that point where the steam is starting to boil and the lid is on, what do you suggest to filmmakers out there that is burning with their sensation of getting their story heard, their story told? What do you go by when those moments of doubt, when you want to just when you decide to keep going?
That's so important. You know, I would say I was there many times, especially this year. Rejections, unfortunately, is a big part of the field that we work in. Grants, film festivals, distributors, buyers, you name it. We're gonna get rejected so many times in the course of our journey. And I hope that for those filmmakers who are just starting, you know, that you remember your North Star. Why are you telling this story? Are you here to get awards? Are you here to just get accolades? I'm assuming, I hope not, you know. I hope that you have a bigger purpose for why you want to share the story with the world. And I think the more we remember the purpose that we have in this world for our stories, you know, to share it with the world, I think it can really fuel that motivation in us. And I would also say, while rejections are very common, when you get that yes, remember who that yes is from, you know, because I think the people who will support you, they will always believe in you. So find your people, because I think once you find your people, you know, remembering that filmmaking is not an individual journey, but we gotta lean on each other. That's the only way forward. I always say to our team, you know, when we're making Unseen, the only way to the mountaintop is together.
There you go. I love it. Seth, it's always a TED Talk.
Thank you so much.
We're so proud of you. Thank you so much. Thank you for Unseen. Thank you for making the scene unseen always in your projects. And we really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny, and NewFilmmakers LA. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.